Okay, well, I hope I'm in frame. This video is going to be about the evil of stereotypes, which may seem, again, sort of, obvious. Everyone knows that stereotypes and gender roles and cliques, just categories that put people into little groups and boxes isn't a really wise thing to do, and it just separates us more and more and creates feuds and conflict. But the thing is people do it even if they say they're not. People still go by this inner framework that it seems to have, that every single social structure that is created within, let's say, a school or a even something as large as a college, which is a ton of people, there is still a framework that it's like a hierarchy. It feels very primal in nature, for sure, and it's something that it's most people are okay with because it doesn't exactly it plays to a lot of people's benefits. People like to be known as the music kids, in a way. I think they take pride in that. They take pride in the fact that they're separated from everyone else because of their talents or because of their, I don't know, it's individuality, which in a way we're all that, we're all individuals. We're all, in a sense, in our own little category, in our own little box that no one else really can ever enter. But pulling your friends that are similar to you, it makes sense that that's what happens. And so everything seems all, the people who are best friends with the people who like soccer, they all become friends. Or people who like to, get really crazy and party on weekends, they all gather and hang together, and that tends to be a much larger group than, let's say, the people who love Mozart, and they form their little Mozart appreciation society. And so you get, friends grouped together, isolating themselves from everyone else, but they're still together, and the world can go on around them like they don't really care. They're doing their thing. And that's the thing, is that everyone focuses on one thing. We have to, in a way. The world is too big, at least in my experience. I mean, some people might be okay with it, but the world and everyone, there's so many people, there's just so much going on, everything's moving very fast. And at the same time, it seems like everything's going super slow. It's a strange sort of dynamic, with time actually feeling very slow. But at the same time, everyone's making things so quickly. You've got the internet, instant connection, text messaging. Everything is so instantaneous, and everything is so here, there. Even if it's in cyberspace, it's still so extremely there in front of your eyes. And so what makes this an issue, in my experience at least, there are tons of people who have trouble, obviously, finding their group, finding their, like, as I like to call it, their train as it departs at the train station, that everyone gets to maybe at the beginning of school or the beginning of college or the beginning of a new job, or the beginning of any sort of social thing, maybe beyond, like, maybe first grade, because, like, preschool and kindergarten, the nice thing about it is everyone's friends, or everyone, is just whatever. Everyone's just playing with their toys, they just, maybe they get into fights because they don't want to share the lion or something that they're playing with. It's different. But when people start to really, when something in their brain starts to mature and they start to think, think self-consciously. What are people thinking of me? What should I be known as? What is my, they start to really think about in their, themselves inside, and then how they relate to the greater picture. And it's something that I'm telling you is extremely difficult to comprehend, and most people spend lifetimes trying to figure out what they feel is their group or their train that they should board, and sort of sail away, or go away into the infinity, because they're done with, they know that what they're going to follow, their path they're going to follow. But the issue is that for some people, I'm imagining it can be extremely depressing to think, I don't want to distance myself from people who might be slightly different from me. I don't want to shield myself around this wall of, similarities that reflect who I am inside, when there could be people, since we're all different mixes of everything anyway in terms of personality, you know, there could be someone who maybe has some traits that aren't like you, but there's some traits that are really like you that other people, that your friends might not understand. And, you know, you start to worry, oh my God, is my friend going to like if this person kind of joins our circle? And no one says it's a circle. You know, people might be like, oh, we're not a clique. We're not, that's stupid. We're not the goths, and we're not like, you know, the popular cheerleaders, you know. But the thing is people can say it all they want, and it manifests itself in so many different ways. I mean, the popular cheerleaders in my high school were not the stereotypical all blonde, you know. It was extremely different. To a certain degree. A lot of the really popular girls weren't the cheerleaders. The thing is there still is a stereotype anyway in place. It's just there. It's just in the framework. You can't do anything about it. And so the issue then becomes flies everywhere. I filmed outside because I don't want my inside. I don't want people to hear me. And, you know, I just had to film this video right now. So I thought, why not film outside? So there's just, you know, you see someone and they're struggling to fit in. This is where it becomes such a, you know, the issue of, oh, I can't fit in anywhere. I don't, you know, I mean, I always viewed it that way. I saw every train left the station, basically. By the time I even felt like I even showed up. And there was nothing I could do. There was no recall, so to speak. And, you know, I guess then people say, well, then those people can form a group. You know, there's got to be other people who struggle. And yes, there are. And there were other people I could find. It's very difficult. These people don't want to find each other. Because unless they know that this person they're searching for is like them, they're going to be scared of them, you know, and other people. And so once you can find other people that are in the same situation with you, that is great. And that's what I hope everyone who's in this position can do, you know. And that means being really, really open-minded about people. Because if you keep going around thinking these narrow-minded judgments about this person I'm friends with has to be, you know, this size, this skin color, they have to be this, you know, type of person, then you're really going to make finding friends very difficult, especially if you're not extremely outgoing, which a lot of people may seem it on the outside, but there's a lot of people who actually aren't, and very insecure. And everyone's insecure in something, but I mean, as far as who's outgoing and who's not, there's probably actually a vastly larger amount of people who are actually not that outgoing, but they just, you know, they work at it. They really try to make, and then, you know, it becomes natural when you're with your close group of friends. And then there are people who can pretty much get along with anyone, even though, of course, they don't. The people who always seem to have it all are the people who can talk to anyone, and they always seem to be able to strike up a conversation. It just comes easy to them. And the people who don't get that, who, like me, people who feel very socially inadequate and, you know, like they struggle at conversation, small talk is like hell, you know, because like what you say, and it's just awkward, and it doesn't come naturally to people like us. And so then it becomes, you know, this jealousy thing. I wish I could have what this person has. So at the end of the day, it all becomes, everyone's in these faux circles, these faux stereotypes, and the people who are closed-minded enough to still believe that we actually are creating stereotypes and that's the way it should be, then there are people like that. You know, they're just doing that anyway, and they call it that, they recognize it. But most people, I don't think they really realize it's going on until it's too late, and they start to realize that they're getting into issues with their friends because they're trying to involve people that they don't view as, like, cool enough to be in their little group of friends. That because they have some differences, or it's just not the same. Everyone is different. It's against the norm for their circle of friends. And the reason why all those people were accepted was because they all found each other kind of around the same time, and they all just kind of found a way to make it work right away. But once that train gets boarded and it says last call and no one seems to show up, they move. And then the people who are a little late coming in, they have a very difficult time catching up and getting on board. And the people on it are kind of hostile to them sometimes. And people who are, of course, very, very open-minded about this and very accepting of everyone don't do this. This isn't about people who obviously don't discriminate and judge. I'm talking about people who, and I'm not talking about super prejudiced people either necessarily. They're a separate story because they're just, obviously something's wrong. This is just this sort of hidden social dynamic that is just bugged me forever. And what it comes down to is, I was thinking, how can I make this into a positive message for people who feel like all the trains have gone and that there's no last call, there's no, way to board any of them. How do they find their place? Something I discovered and really helped me was, first of all, in terms of thinking of place as occupation, you being alive and on this planet is you being yourself. You don't almost have to do anything. If you're a loving individual, if you appreciate and you're compassionate, if you appreciate difference, if you look at everything with an open mind, and you don't slam the hammer down with criticism on something before it has a chance, and you realize that the only judgment that can be brought to something that's justified is if this thing is evil or not. If you realize that, you can just be yourself. I mean, everyone is their own occupation. Everyone is being their own social circle. Everyone is their own stereotype. Because stereotypes are so individual, that's why making them into these groups is just ridiculous. And trying to think that, trying to mesh the idea of people finding friends with similarities, that idea, which is true, I mean, that's just natural, that's just what's going to happen. People need other people, though not everyone does. Some people, although I really think it helps, I used to think I was one of those people who didn't actually need a lot of friends, or any, to be honest. I'd be happy with just my loving family, who I'm so appreciative for. I think when you find someone you can talk to, it really makes a huge difference. And the internet helps because you can find people without actually meeting them. I don't know how people could have dealt with this before, internet. Because, I mean, how can you find people who are like you if you live in a small town? So, I don't want this video to be super long. I just wanted to say, first, that your occupation is being yourself. So you have to think, okay, I am going to be all that I can be. I'm not letting any outside forces hinder me from that. I'm going to be a loving, of course, compassionate person, and I'm going to accept everyone as they are all doing the same for me, as they should. And they're all, and recognize that they are all their own beingness, and that they are a part of this giant stereotype of humanity. And, so then you have to look at it as your part in the giant, huge picture, which can be really scary, and that can be the issue with the whole trains going in different directions. Because you look at it and you see what everyone's doing, and it's like, okay, those are the football kids, you know what they're going to do, but I want to be like them, but oh, I really like music, but I can't, I don't know, what should I do? Oh, and look at that, childcare, oh, there's a certain type of people that do that sort of thing. And then of course the whole issue with gender and what boys and girls should do in gender roles, that's completely screwed up. I believe that, and a lot of people that resonate with this sort of information believe that there's the soul, or what you really are underneath, has no gender. Gender is a biological, physical manifestation of biology here that makes reproduction possible, and it does its own thing, and it goes off and it does its thing, but gender doesn't actually, the whole idea of masculine and feminine, we need to really tear that away from the idea of male and female, because that's not how they equate. Male does not mean masculine, female does not mean female does not mean feminine. They can if they want to, but they don't have to. Okay? And masculine and feminine are opposite sides of dealing with a situation. They're kind of like two ways of living your life. You can live aggressive and masculine, which is assumed to be assertive, kind of authoritarian, and, loud. That's the general assumption with man strong. Or the feminine side, which is, unfortunately, and I hate this, it's feminine when it's linked to female as being compassionate. Well, that's silly, because that means males aren't compassionate then, because they're masculine, or they should be masculine. If they're not masculine and they're being, God forbid, compassionate like a female, then they're going to be, discriminated against and be called all these horrible things because they're not tough like a man. What's untough about loving people? How many males do I see going around thinking it's not okay to show their feelings, it's not okay to express compassion because it's described as a feminine trait, and then that's meant, said as a female trait colloquially. It's ridiculous. It's such a saddening thing. Why can't we just look past the biggest stereotype of them all that we created, masculine and feminine, and realize that it's two sides of the same thing, and one cannot live without the other. Both are important, both are equal, and everyone almost has bits of each anyway. The most masculine guy has feminine traits, and it would kill them to tell them that because of their ego. But it's probably, when you think about it, what we label as feminine is a lot more of the way things should be. Like, compassionate, obviously, soothing, healing, gentle, not harsh and aggressive, because what does aggression and hurting people ever accomplish? I hate, I just don't identify to the whole male macho thing. I mean, I understand strength is important physically. It's good to be strong, not just for health reasons, but I mean for self-defense, because there always are going to be people who take it the wrong way and are going to be evil, and that's why this planet is so screwed up, because we have free will and people are going in the entirely wrong direction. And even though our occupation is to be whatever we want to be, there is love and hate, and really underneath that, fear, which drives us. And it just depends how we act on that. And then, masculine and feminine is just the ways our actions can go. And either one's okay, as long as neither leads to negative, because feminine can be negative too, although it's my experience, it never really seems that way. You always want a gentle hand to pat you to sleep rather than a fist saying, "Good night, son," as the masculine sort of, But then that's individualistic, as long as it's not really harming someone. This is getting really lengthy. But I just want to close by saying, so what I was saying was bringing it out into the larger stereotype of humanity and realizing that, be it a male or a female, they have similarities and differences with everyone. Everyone has something they can be related to. You can find connections with everyone, I guarantee it. There's got to be something we are all related to. But there's got to be some link we all have with everyone. Be it as small and ridiculous as possible, trust me, I bet you can find it. Except for maybe the people who are completely far out there and psycho wackos who just want to... Anyway. But, we are all different, though. No one is exactly identically alike. So, it's sort of like a maze, just finding your way through, finding your path, because it's really your own individual path. It's your own individual train. Think of it as your train, and then, other trains are kind of going near you, maybe, in proximity to you, and others maybe going kind of slightly divergent. But, they're not necessarily separate from you. They're still within. You're always going to be connected to these people, because if it hurts, like I know it does for me, to think that people who I know I'm not really like, I just love them for some reason. I just really look up to them. And it sometimes hurts to think I'm never going to be a part of their group. Don't think of it as a group. Remember, they're individuals. They're doing their real own individual thing. You just have to remember that. And it's really a no-brainer. The bugs are attacking me, so I'm going to have to end this. But peace, love, and light forever and always. And I hope that this was helpful to someone who is struggling to look at is struggled by the way everything human society is just so messed up. So there's a lot of good, though. I'm not, trying to be super pessimistic, but it's just, there's a lot that needs to be changed in the way we organize our thoughts around socialization, and I don't know, it just needs, I could probably do another video on this to explain it even more fully, but I hope that this could help someone again, like I said with my anxiety video, and so that's all for now.